Hello, and welcome to the Latch Lounge podcast. My name is Amber Ginn, and today we're going to be talking about something I am very passionate about, and that is mommy guilt and mental health. So, if you are new to social media, you might not have seen all of the nonsense around motherhood and if it's hell and if it is supposed to be this hard and all of the stuff that we see being thrown around on Instagram and TikTok, talk of flamingos not being pink, all of that nonsense. And we're going to get into that today. I'm Amber Ginn, IBCLC, and empowering moms in their breastfeeding journey is what I do. Breastfeeding comes with a lot of opinions. Your doctor, your mother-in-law, that random lady at the park, and it can leave you feeling like you're constantly second-guessing yourself. That's why I created the Latch Lounge podcast, to cut through the noise and give you real, judgment-free, no BS advice that actually helps. Whether you're nursing, pumping, or combo feeding, this is the place for you to get the real support and information you deserve. So grab a drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. So first and foremost, motherhood can be really hard. And anyone who's telling you that it's not, I would be a little curious about their experience and how honest they're being. I think a lot of times in the motherhood space, we don't want to be honest about the fact that motherhood can be hard because, for one, we don't want to acknowledge that for ourselves and maybe lean into the fact that we're in a hard season of motherhood, or we don't want to sound like we're not grateful. I completely get where moms are coming from and not wanting to sound ungrateful, but denying the reality of a situation and denying our experience within a situation does not benefit us or give us any better outcomes when it comes to being a good mom. So, I definitely think we have a lack of nuance around how hard breastfeeding can be on us mentally. I think there's this double edged sword because a lot of formula companies utilize that narrative to try and sell us formula. They're like, oh, breastfeeding is hard, so just don't do it and buy this formula. It's really great and it's organic. So we, I think, lean so heavily on the other side of not wanting to admit that it's hard because if we do, then we might fall prey to that sort of dirty marketing where people are telling us to just throw in the towel because it's difficult. I think it's really important to note that breastfeeding should not be that hard. It shouldn't be as hard as it is. And we have a lot of just confounding factors that make it a lot more difficult than it needs to be, lack of support being one of those. So within my practice, I am really big on supporting the moms I work with their entire being as a person. We're not just focused on your boobs. At my practice, we're focused on your mind and your heart and your nutrition and everything else, because all of those things really weigh heavily in our experience of motherhood as a whole. So let's talk about the issue of mental health and breastfeeding and how those things interact. A lot of mothers feel that if they are struggling with breastfeeding, that means that there's something wrong with them. And that is objectively untrue. Rather than focusing on the struggling related to supply, latch, etc., I want to focus in on the struggle of feeling like you are not enjoying breastfeeding, because that is a very true thing for some moms. Some moms just don't enjoy it. And whether it's from having had a trauma in the past that makes having a baby latched onto them feel uncomfortable, or makes having a pump latched onto them feel uncomfortable, or if it's from them having an illness or an issue that needs to be treated with medication and they can't access that while breastfeeding, there is a lot of layers of complexity to breastfeeding and mental health and the experience that moms have related to those two things. So I think it's really important that we separate our bias and suspend our opinions about whether breast is best or not, and think about the fact that breasts are attached to a human being. They're attached to a woman. And so we don't want to disassociate a mother out of her own journey. And I think that's what happens a lot, is we have a lot of women online shouting from the rooftops about how breast is best, breast is best. And as an IBCLC, I feel like that statement is kind of stupid, for lack of a better word. And I guess really what I mean to say is that it's an ignorant statement, because I don't think anyone is arguing that for majority of babies, breast milk is the superior choice when it comes to nutrition. But
that doesn't exist in a vacuum. As I said, we don't have boobies just running around that we can just go and get breast milk from. They're attached to women. And so when we start to say what is best for everyone, we are completely losing the agency that an individual woman has over her body and her feeding journey. Because at the end of the day, I think what benefits society the most is if all of us, whether we're mothers or not, whether we're women or men, doesn't matter, as long as we have sovereignty over our choices, that's what's going to benefit us as a society and move us forward across time, is if we realize that. And I think in this attempt to focus on what's healthiest and what's best, we're maligning that goal by kind of telling moms that, like, no, you just need to push through it, you just need to power through it, and breast milk's the best thing. I have so many moms who come to me and they're just like broken down, and thankfully it's not, this is a pretty rare occurrence, but moms who are like broken down by breastfeeding and they're crying and they're over it and they feel guilty and they feel ashamed and they just are not enjoying it the way they thought they were going to, or things are just a freaking mess. And we talk and I'm like, why is it that you feel you need to breastfeed? And the most tragic thing is a lot of the times they just say because it's best. And it's like, what the hell? Like that's not a reason. Like we need to have reasons that are based on our goals and our values. Just because something is best, if I tell you something's best but you don't believe it and you can't articulate why it is you believe it's best, then your ability to use it being best as motivation to accomplish a goal is super limited. So I would encourage you, if you're a new mom, if you're a mom at all, you should be really curious about your why behind whatever decision you're making with your baby or your child, whether it's related to breastfeeding, whether it's related to vaccinations or circumcision or sleep training or any of those hot button issues. Understand your why, and then your decision is correct. And that's what I think gets so discombobulated within the maternal healthcare space, within the birth worker world, within mommy social media in general, is there is not really one right way to do things. And if we are educated and confident and empowered around our decisions, then our decision is correct. It doesn't have to be the decision that our sister-in-law makes or that our best friend from high school makes. It just needs to be a decision that we feel confident about. And that's why I think rather than focusing on what is best, we need to focus on what is best for us. Within my practice, I'm a really big proponent of framing out what does optimal look like? Like what would the perfect person do? We know she doesn't exist, but what would she do? And how close to her do you desire to be within your journey as a mother? And what are you willing to do to get there? I have moms who come to me and they're pumping, 3 or 4 times a day, let's say, and they're getting a couple of ounces and they're having to supplement with formula. And we'll go through and talk about, okay, what would you like to do? And let's say they'd like to feed their baby exclusively with breast milk and they don't want to use any formula. Then we'll talk about what that would look like to get there. And then we'll take a moment and we'll do something that I think is pretty radical within the space of health. We'll be like, are you actually willing to do that? And a lot of times the answer is yes. And sometimes it's no. And it's what's lacking within modern healthcare in general, as we have people go to doctors and they're like, well, you should lose weight and you should never drink and you should never smoke and you should not be so stressed and you should sleep really good, do those things, and then relieve. We're not like, do you think you can accomplish that? And if not, like, what can you actually do? Like, what's within your realm of possibility? Like, what's something you can actually control and achieve? And so, in the way I practice as a lactation consultant, that goal of focusing on what it is you'd like to do, what it takes to get there, and is that feasible for you? Because I have moms come to me and they really want to exclusively provide breast milk, but they also have to sleep through the night. And so there is a disconnect in what they want and what they need. And we can work together to make sure that we close that disconnect as best we can. If they were just to go to an IBCLC who's like, well, you couldn't possibly not pump throughout the night because then your milk supply is going to get wrecked, then they're going to feel like they're put in a place where they have to wake up during the night to pump in order to be a good mom. And so there's just so much nuance in lactation and birth and breastfeeding and motherhood. And I think we all need to just take a moment and realize that very few of us, if anyone at all, is ever going to be a perfect mother. And the more pressure you put on yourself, it's just going to make you feel overwhelmed and it's not going to help. When it comes to mental health issues that require treatment with medication, I have a lot of moms who come to me and they're really worried that if they choose to utilize a particular medication that will cause them to not be able to breastfeed, then they're being selfish and they're hurting their baby and they're taking away an opportunity for their baby to have, optimal health and to get this best food and have this best situation. And while yes, breast milk is the best thing in terms of nutrition, having a mother who has their mental health disorder treated is probably better for them than having a mother who is clinically depressed or chronically anxious or what have you. I mean, we have to think about those things when we're mothers, because in reality, the good news and the bad news of being a mom is that you're the boss. You're the boss of your body. You're the boss of your breastfeeding journey. You're the boss of your motherhood journey. You're the boss of the decisions around your child's healthcare, around everything. And that's good news because it means that you get to decide, but it's bad news because it means that you are responsible, because we can be cajoled or bullied into making a decision. And the person who bullied us is going to leave and they're not going to have to deal with the consequences of the decisions that we made. So I think it's super duper important that we remember that that is a double-edged sword. Responsibility, what's the Spider-Man thing with great responsibility? I don't remember, but pretty much you need to remember that when you are tasked with raising a child, with being a mother, you get to make the choices, but you're also responsible. So if you're making choices that are not aligned with your actual values, at the end of the day, you're probably going to have regret and guilt around those decisions if they don't work out the way that you want. And I think, as what I like to consider myself as a veteran mom, as like an OG mom, my kids are old. They're almost 17 and 11. I can tell you with great certainty that there are decisions that I made within motherhood because someone else told me to. And I'm dealing with the consequences of those decisions or have across time. And the people who pushed me into making those decisions are long gone. And if I would have taken more time to lean into my own goals and to listen to my own intuition, I would have probably made different decisions. I have clients who I work with who are doing all of these things because they feel like they have to. And they're neglecting the fact that that postpartum experience, that time you have with your baby, those first 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months, what have you, it's such a blip on the radar. By the time you are where I am in motherhood, you are not going to be so obsessed about when you introduced a pacifier or what kind of bottle you used or if they got 60% breast milk or 80% or 40%. You're not going to care about that. You're going to think back and you're going to remember how you felt. You're going to remember, did you feel empowered? Did you feel supported? Did you feel confident? When you were with your baby, were you present? Like those are the things that really matter. And while our nutrition that we provide our children is integral to their experience across their entire lifetime, their nutrition when it comes to breastfeeding, if it's from our boobs, is directly related to us. And we do not need to make a decision where it's like us or them. We do not have to feel like we are backed into a corner and we need to make decisions from this BS idea that breast is best, because breast milk is best. I will always say that. Breast milk for most babies is going to be the optimal choice, unless your baby has an allergy or whatever other health issue. But being fed from your breast, you having to pump exclusively, you having to pump at all, any of those things it's so up in the air, and you should not ever feel pressured into making a decision because of some crappy Pinterest graphic you saw that says that breast is best. We need to be educated and we need to go layers deep, and we need to understand that, like I said, the good news is you're the boss and the bad news is you're the boss. You have to understand why you're making your decisions, because that chick on TikTok who had a really compelling mom shamey video go viral about how you're selfish if you don't breastfeed, she's not going to be there for you in the middle of the night. She's not going to be there for you when your kid is 2 years old or 6 years old. And like I said, as a mom who has older children, your kids are going to be freaking proud of you and so grateful to you, whether you decided to breastfeed them or whether you went straight to formula. And that might piss some lactation professionals off to hear me say that, but it is the truth. They're going to love you. They're going to be proud of you. They're sometimes going to be embarrassed of you, but it won't matter either way. As a mom, in terms of it's not going to matter to them, they're not going to judge you and make those decisions. Maybe they will when they're adults, I don't know, but they won't when they're kids. And I can say with great certainty as well, as someone who has met so many children, I've met children who were breastfed and got the gentle parenting treatment their whole childhood, and they were freaking monsters. And I've met kids who were breastfed and slept with their mom and did all these nice things, and they were really sweet. And I've met formula fed kids who, they're eating great value chicken nuggets from a plastic bag at the park, and they're freaking angels. And then the same kids who their sibling is like a crazy person. So really, there's no cut and dry answer to how our kid's going to turn out. Really, we're all just doing our freaking best. So remember that if you are struggling with your mental health, do not let breastfeeding be like an extra layer onto that difficult situation. Do not feel like you are tasked with choosing between your own mental health and your ability to function and breastfeeding. Do not feel that you have to make a decision based on what someone else told you if that's not the decision that you want to make. Breastfeeding is complex, and the fact of the matter is it is 2025, and the support systems that moms need to be able to achieve these optimal outcomes within motherhood are not there. I'm doing my part to help provide that care to moms and provide really awesome, continuous, evidence-based, no BS, judgment-free support to mothers covered by insurance. But I'm one person. As my practice grows, will be more people, but it's lacking. So do not beat yourself up that the system is broken. And that's one thing that I'm going to end on this. One thing that really bugs me within the motherhood space, within the birth space, is that we have so many people trying to rage against the machine, but the machine they end up raging against is other moms. Judging other mothers because they are not supported and make different decisions than what you would make, or they make decisions that you don't think are ideal, it's not moving the needle. It's not helping anyone. So if I could ask anything of you guys listening to this, just remember that you are the boss. You get to decide what works for you. And being supportive and loving and uplifting other mothers is going to go so far, and it's going to really help make the world a better place. So we don't need any more mommy guilt. We don't need any more shame or embarrassment or judgment. We just need to be more supportive of each other. And we need to understand that there are systems out there that can support us within our breastfeeding journeys. And IBCLCs are not just for cracked nipples and bad latches. We are there to listen to you vent, cry, fuss, yell, whatever it is about your feelings. And we're here to validate those. So if you are ever struggling with your mental health, with decision making around infant feeding and what your care plan looks like in treating mental health, if you're dealing with mom shame, with guilt, with overwhelm, I'm here. Your insurance covers that care. You already pay for it. Reach out and get support because it's not supposed to be this hard. You are not broken. You are doing a freaking amazing job. And just remember that there is support out there for you.
That's it for today, Mama. If this episode helped, don't stop here. Get even more support at thelatchlink.com. Need one-on-one help? Did you know your insurance covers free lactation care? If you have Aetna, Anthem, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or UHC, you can get free virtual lactation care right from the comfort of your home. Check your coverage and book your session today at thelatchlink.com. And if you're looking for instant help with latch issues, grab my course, Latch Legend, for step-by-step fixes you can use right now. If you love this episode, subscribe and leave a review. It's the best way to help other moms find the support they deserve. Until next time, trust yourself, trust your baby, and know you are doing an amazing job.